and welcome to episode 6 of the Spot to Be Missed podcast and live talk. I am your host, Nikita Nicole. I am so sorry that we got started late today. I was missing some my video and technical issues that we had, but we are here and we are started, and I'm so grateful that you guys have tuned in with us today. Today we are talking again about being woman and what that means. I'm so excited about this conversation because we have so much to get into today. And I do have a special guest as well. So that's also exciting. Last week, we talked about being woman. And well, actually, it wasn't last week. We skipped last week. Our last episode was July 24th, and we aired that episode in Columbus, Ohio. And so that was great. But what we talked about was being woman and that multitasking woman and getting the sensitivity back that we as women sometimes lose in the whole grand scheme of taking care of the kiddos, taking care of the husband, and all of those things that we do as women. And sometimes we do it alone and by ourselves. And so in the grand scheme of things, we can lose our sensitivity, we can lose ourselves, and that is something that we have to get back. And so this week, we are continuing that discussion. But this time, we're talking a little bit more about being a mother and how to, you hear me say this often in the podcast, and how to give ourselves grace in the things that we're doing. And, you know, to understand that we haven't lost the war, that we're just having a moment. And I want to show you guys a special clip regarding that as well. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I just want to appreciate you guys for tuning in with us every week, for liking our social platforms, and reading our blogs. It means so much to me, and the comments that you guys leave is so special, and so we really do appreciate that. You can find us on Facebook as Dippity Dewdrops Productions, but it's just Dippity Dewdrops at Facebook. And you can, on my Facebook page, Nikita Woodley, you can look at the podcast from there. You can look at the podcast from YouTube, and that's Nikita Nicole. But the link in the description box will give you access to all of our social platforms. And so that's something that we're really excited about. We went through a lot of work to make sure that you guys don't have to search everywhere to find our podcast and to look at some of the things in the posts that we have. There's all of our platforms are in one place. All you have to do is click that link and you'll have access to our podcast, our blog, social platforms. So without further ado, I just want to get into when I thought about being woman, I just thought, okay, so listen, sometimes we have to have the ugly conversations. And sometimes those ugly conversations, listen, we got to have them, but they're necessary. And the ugly conversation sometimes, has a lot to do with menopause, the M word. So here's the thing about menopause. Some of you may not be going through it. Some of you probably never will go through it. But understand and recognize this. If you keep living, you will go through menopause. And you may not be experiencing menopause right now, but you might be going through the premenopause. And premenopause is it sometimes can be just as bad, because you have some of the symptoms, but just not all of them. And so, but I wanted to talk about menopause as it relates to women. First of all, it's a women issue. It's not a Black woman issue. It's not a Latino issue. It's not a white woman's issue. It is an issue that all women go through. But I'm a Black woman, and I'm always interested in how I can care for myself as a Black woman, how I can prepare for things as a Black woman. And that right there, is so important to me to be able to do. And so I just want to be able to educate myself and know what's going on. And so I just want to go over a couple things about menopause. 3 million cases per year, and minorities are affected. White women are affected. Latino women are affected as well. And also with menopause, there is the thing of the hotness, right? Are you hot? sometimes? Are you hot more than sometimes? Are you hot at night? Are you hot when you get up and that in the middle of the night bathroom run that you have to go and take? Are you hot then? Uh, or are you hot? Are your is your sleep broken? So are you so hot that you wake up in the middle of the night? And when you wake up, it's like your clothes are sticking to you and you feel wet and you feel like you ran a marathon, but you've not done anything. And so you might either be perimenopause or you might be going through menopause itself. And so, what I want you to know about that is that you're not alone. 3 million cases per year. Minorities are affected. Um, here's the thing: we have white women, 6.5 years that they experience menopause and hot flashes. Latinos, they experience hot flashes 8.9 years, and African American women, that's me, that's some of you who are watching, African American women, we experience menopause for 10 years. That's a long time. And so now, some of the external or contributing factors to that play a role in that could be, hypertension, diabetes, diet, exercise. If you were a smoker, or if you have a history of thyroid disease in your family, or if you have thyroid disease yourself, that also contribute to more hot flashes, a longer period of menopause, and as well as just the continuing part of that, just going on and on and on with the hot flashes throughout the day. Now, there are some things you can do to stay cool. Of course, ladies, stay hydrated. Drink your water. Drink liquids or fluids that have electrolytes in them. That's going to help you to stay consistent, and that's going to help you to just make sure that your body is hydrated. Keep water at your bedside at night. Sometimes we get up in the middle of the night, we get thirsty, we have to go to the bathroom, and we're all wet and sticky. Keep water at the bed at nighttime. And I've also been told, and I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but I've also been told lemon water is good for you. Now, the normal age for menopause is 51. But we African Americans women experience, as well as other minority groups, experience it a lot earlier. And that means that from 49 years old and earlier, 49 years old and earlier, you can be experiencing and dealing with menopause. So we want you to take care of yourselves. We want you to be well, and don't be afraid to have the conversation, about menopause, because it's a real thing, and it's happening to many of us. And I don't know if I've hit it full on, but I definitely know there's a stage that they'll tell you, and it's called perimenopause. I don't know that I've hit it full on, but I'm telling you guys, some days I am hot. Some days I feel like I'm flashing, but I don't have that feeling. I've heard people say that there's this feeling of like you're being like the top of your head just feels really hot. I've not heard of that, but I'm not in a rush to feel those things. But let's take care of ourselves, and let's not be afraid to have that conversation. I want to give you guys our weekly pandemic report. I'm just going to share my screen. I always want to let you guys know where we are with the pandemic report, and just bear with me. Where we are with the pandemic report, our numbers in Michigan, as well as, we right now in the United States, I believe we have about 34 million cases. But I just want to go over our pandemic report with you, and I'm just going to share you and show you our numbers from Michigan. And I don't know if you guys have been, staying abreast of a lot of what's going on with the coronavirus. But I will tell you that it is no joke out here, guys. If you look here, this is the Michigan State overview. And as you can see, we have 1,018,601 cases. We have 21,221 deaths. Of the COVID vaccine, we have 14,700 and 24,982 total tested. 6.9% of those people have tested positive. And I'm sorry, yeah, that's the test taking, not actual vaccine. That was I misspoke. The vaccine is here as the doses administered. We now have 9,880,185 doses administered. 4,911 plus people have been fully vaccinated. And we've got 49% of people who are fully vaccinated right now. So it looks like we still have a ways to go with the vaccine. And the thing of it is that everybody is just not, they're not really wanting to, look at that vaccine and take it. And people are feeling a certain kind of way about it, and I can understand that. So, again, these are our numbers. 1 million confirmed cases, 1 million plus confirmed cases, 21,000 deaths, 14,000 tests have, seems like that number is a little low, 14,000 tests, but 14,000 tests plus tests. 6% of those people, almost 7% have tested positive. Over 9 million doses of the vaccine administered. 4.9% of people, 4.9% of people have taken the vaccine, and 49% of women, totally populated, the population of fully vaccinated people. All right, I got a little distracted there because I got a message coming in here. We have a special guest coming on the show today, and she is going to be talking about being a woman with us and just what that means. And I have her in the backstage, and she's going to be coming and hanging out with us for a little bit, and I'm really excited about it. But we'll wait for her to come on. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is, sometimes there are times when we are, going through the motion. Things seem sometimes to be going good for us, and we seem to be making it work and making it happen for ourselves. And then all of a sudden, something out of nowhere just happens, and we're like, well, what the doggone? What has happened? What is going on? And we are just the ball of who done it. And one of the things that I thought that was really cool that I saw this week, and it was a video, and it just really helps us to just be able to just recognize and understand that one, life happens. Two, when it does happen, we have to do a couple things. And I don't know if you guys were, those of you who were with me in episode 1, what we talked about was being able to fully accept a situation when they go left or when things go awry. To fully accept the situation. If you don't fully accept it, you can't go forward. So you have to accept what's going on. Just accept the very temporary reality of a problem. And then once you accept that reality, you have to assess it. What needs to be done? What can I do next to circumvent, mitigate, whatever it is that you need to do? You have to assess the situation, and then once you make that, then you have to make some adjustments. And sometimes making those adjustments is not always easy. It can be really difficult sometimes to adjust to things that are completely out of your control. And so I just want to say to you guys to give yourselves, take the pressure off of yourselves a little bit, give yourself the grace that you need and keep on going forward. And that's what you have to do. And so Just bear with me a moment. I'm going to add Takesa to our podcast. Really excited about her input, and then we'll take a look at this video. I thought this video was really, really cool. So just bear with me. I think she was having a little bit of trouble getting on, and I'm just going to resend the link to her so that she can get on and join us today. Just bear with me. Also, guys, we're going to be talking a little bit before you go about some news that I have. Nikita Nicole is we're on the move and we are doing things, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm excited to be able to share with you some of what we are doing. And so this is it's an exciting turning point for us. It's a very exciting phase for us, and I feel like we're growing. I feel like this podcast is growing. I feel like some of the things that we're doing, it matters. The conversations that we have every week, sometimes I can't wait to just log on and, kick it with you guys and just share, some of the things that I, even videos that I see sometimes just videos that I see are just like, oh my God, I got to share this, or I want to talk about this on the podcast and, share some things. So I'm just really excited about some of the things that we have happening. And I'm just grateful for all of you who just tune in and watch us every week. Let me tell you something, we are circumventing some technical issues sometimes. Sometimes we are, sometimes it's a struggle. And we do these live because, and the reason why we do these lives, I've had suggestions to say, well, why don't you pre-record them? But sometimes doing them live and the little hiccups and stuff, I think that's just sometimes a part of the journey. And so there are going to be times where we do some pre-recorded shows, but I like doing the live shows. And so we're not going to get away from doing live shows. So I'm going to add Takesa Coleman to the mix and have her talk about today what it means to be a woman. Hi, Takesa.
I made it! Yay!
You made it. I'm so glad that you came on. Takesa Coleman, you guys have seen her face before on the Spots We Miss podcast and Live Talk. You've seen her. She's been a guest now, I want to say maybe 3 times that she's been on. She is a professional in human resources, and she has lent her voice and her expertise in that area. She's came on and talked to us about a lot of stuff. And so she talked about, you guys got to catch our episode Forgiving Yourself because her perspective was really, really nice. And so I'm just excited to hear what you have to say, Takesa.
Well, first of all,
and thank you for the video.
I know, I can't wait. Michelle sent me that video. First of all, I want to say absolutely do not leave from the live. I support that 100% because you're doing something a lot of us, I'm just going to say, don't have the balls to do. So if you're out there and you're putting yourself out there live, do it because it brings transparency, it brings humility, it brings just realness to what you're trying to talk about and what you're trying to say. And the more real I feel like the more real you are, the more you draw people into your audience. So I completely support live. Things happen, you might have to do a snippet live and do a little bit, not live or whatever, but this all will be ironed out. I promise you, probably the next 2 podcasts, you'll be so flawless, they'll think you pre-recorded it, okay? So, but I do want to say that this topic about being a woman is multi-layered, multifaceted, there's so many different views that you can take and so many different perspectives that you can put on being a woman. But I was thinking about what Deb and Jay said, and absolutely, I can't think of her name either. The young lady whose name started with an S. Shariah, yes. So she was talking about having hard talks, right? She was talking about having, discussions with ourselves. And that for me is where I'm at. I'm at the point of accountability. I'm at the point of having those deep talks or in my head versus the negative ones that we constantly have that Jay was talking about, right? How we're constantly rethinking the negative and what we should have done, what we could have done, or we wish we had done, or are we doing this right? Or what do people think of how I'm raising my son or my daughter, or if I'm the pastor's wife, what do they think about me being there's all of these things, and we just take them in, we soak them in. And when you said sponge, I want to say that we have a tendency, and maybe it's bred in society, but we have a tendency to compare ourselves to others. And until we reach a point in our own individual lives, because we all got to get there some way, somehow on our own, but until we reach a point in our own lives to say, I'm not comparing myself, then you can start really digging into who you are and what you want for yourself. But like Shariah said, I'm not doing this, or I don't want to do this. Or in my perspective, it's, I'm trying to work on my thinking, my self-talk, which I talked about that before. And I like how Deb talked about how women, we take on roles that are unintended. I love that part, because as women, we are supposed, in my perspective, because everybody has a different view, but as women, we are supposed to still be feminine. We are supposed to still be womanly. We are still supposed to be goddesses. And our generations before us brought down, some of this is just part of evolution. Because I feel like the next generation right underneath us, they figured it out. And we're in the middle, and we're learning from them, and we're trying to deviate ourselves from what we learned before them. I don't know about you, but I'm in the middle. And when I look at the generation just below us, just behind us, they figured it out. They're like, no, I got boundaries. I'm not giving you all of this. What about me? I love me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see you, And so when I think about what they were saying last week, in my therapist also said this, we have to come into a sense of alignment with who we are. And you guys talked about, Deb talked about not losing the essence of your womanhood, not losing the essence of who you are, and reaching your full potential. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the women in their 40s and their 45s and up, we're figuring it out. Now, some of them figured it out already. Okay, that's good. But some of us are just now starting to figure it out. Some of us are just now starting to have those conversations. This isn't serving you.
But let me interject just here a sec, because here's the thing, though. I do think our generation is paying attention.
That's right.
I do think that we are figuring it out, but I think we have paid attention to the mistakes of the past. What do you think about that?
Agreed. I think we have paid attention to the mistakes. When I talk about that, I would also say that's another comparison that we had. We've compared ourselves to mistakes before. And instead of us saying, well, I don't want to make that mistake, we haven't really figured out we're figuring out how not to make those mistakes. Some of us are. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they're not really all mistakes, because you don't know what you don't know. And once you know better, you do better, right? That's the common phrase. Once you know better, you do better. But I think that's when we talked about forgiveness before, as women, we have got to really dig deep and forgive ourselves, because I know there's a lot of women who are like, oh, I wish I would have traveled, or I wish I would have, but I had to raise my kids, or I wish I would have done this, but I was working this job and feeding my family. I wish. And then that reminds me again of what Dad said. We should be the helpmate. We should be the support. When I wrote down what women want, what men want, I don't know what men want, but I'm gonna say what I think men want. Okay. I think men want a woman who's confident. I think they want a woman who's complementary to that man. Yeah. I think they want peace. But the question is, a lot of women don't know how to bring peace.
That's
unfortunately
true. And I think we could benefit from a course on being peace.
Bringing peace, right? Because we all know there's been a moment or two where we were not the peace bringer. Okay. Right. But and support. They want support. They don't want to say it, but they want support. But they want us to read their minds. That's my own personal opinion. And then submission. You know, that's a whole nother topic, I think, for a whole nother podcast. What is submission?
But here's the thing about submission. I just want to interject a little bit here because submission is, I think, a very, very necessary part of a relationship. But we don't really live in that type of world where people are. A lot of people don't even like to hear that word submission in relationships. And so it's really interesting that you brought that up because I believe in that and I still think that it is necessary in relationships. But at the very same time, you know, that's a touchy word. People don't really like it. You know,
it is. It has a negative. It has a negative cloak over it because for us as the independent, you want me to be submissive, or what? You know, I want to still be me. I still want to be who I am, but at some point we have to learn how to balance. It's like a balancing beam. How you know, to be submissive to that person, that person who's providing and bringing to the home, and still be who we are. But that's a level, that's a whole nother podcast. But when I say submission, I also say that a lot of women don't know how to be submissive, and a lot of men who expect submission don't know how to respect submission.
They don't.
And that's just my opinion.
Not all of them.
You know, they view it, some can view it as weakness. And I think sometimes women feel like if they're submissive, they're viewed as weak. And it's not, I don't think that's true. I don't think being submissive is weak unless you don't have boundaries.
True.
And that's something that Jay and the other young ladies were talking about, having boundaries. And that's something that I'm learning as a single mom. And I don't know know if people know my story, but if you know, you know. There's single moms out there for whatever reason. And I think Deb pointed that out. However you became a single mom, whether you made a decision, whether you made a good decision, a bad decision, whatever, it is what it is at this point. Yeah. And in my mind, I never planned to be a single mom. However, I was met with, some loss in that regards, and I ended up being a single mom. And I'm always like, I was just telling my mom yesterday, I'm always wondering, am I doing it right? Am I making the right decisions? Am I tough enough? Am I too tough? Am I, all these things. And then you put on top of it, I'm at a point where I'm trying to rebuild my career. I'm in the second half of my life, right? We're in the second half of our lives. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting that on top of that. And then I'm saying, well, when am I going to meet the man I'm supposed to meet? But at the same time, we talked about that loneliness, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing that this pandemic has brought is a unmeasurable amount of loneliness right now.
Yes, it has.
At all costs, we're gonna protect our families. And my son, if you ask him right now, what's mommy's job, he's gonna tell you, keep me safe. And if that means I gotta be alone right now, then that means I gotta be alone right now. Mm-hmm. And that sacrifice is not recognized. That sacrifice it's thankless. It's thankless.
Being a mom is a thankless job.
It is.
It really is. Yes, it is.
And I know I'm just rambling. I had like all the stuff like written down that I wanted to say, and all over the place.
Video. From the time you sent me this, I've really been excited about it. So let's look at this video.
Yes, I love it.
I mean, because she was right on. And you know what I love? I loved her. I love the amen choir that the man was. He was the amen choir, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Take a look at that. Just bear with me here. Can you see this? Oh, let's see. Hold on. I'm going to go back, guys, because I can change some other stuff. Let me stop sharing. Let me see. Yeah. All right. I think I got it. Hold on. I think I got it. So I'm gonna have to probably just rewind it a little bit here, but because I think I listened to it. I listened to it and then I stopped. So all right, let's check this video out. I'm excited for you guys to see it. Here it is. Let's see. Hold on. Let's take it back. I got to turn the.
Well, baby, like this. I came to speak to those who seem to think that moms are just moms. Well, baby, let me let you in on who we really are. We're alarm clocks, we're bathroom attendants, we're hairdressers, we're personal stylists, we're cooks, we're nannies, we're housekeepers, and that's all before we get ourselves together in the morning. We're physicians, but we ain't got no PhD, but we can heal wounds. We're lawyers, we ain't got no degree in that either, but we can mediate between siblings who can't seem to get along. And sometimes adults who act like kids too. We are chefs who can pull together a meal with little scraps in the refrigerator. We're accountants who can make money stretch when you don't even know. We are strong because we can hide the stress that you don't seem to think we go through. We are all the things that you don't even see at night with prayer warriors praying over our house when everybody else is asleep. We are the ones that's keeping the enemy at bay because we're the one laying on our face. We are the strong weapons who God has ordained for this position, baby. We ain't just a mother, and you better not even let that come out your mouth again. Let me tell you who we are. We're a superwoman.
Well, there you have it. Well, there you have it.
She dropped the mic on it. I got chills every time I hear that.
Oh
and I'm gonna tell you,
she did it.
If you can find that video and you need a moment to pull you up, baby, that's it right there.
Or if you struggle with valuing yourself as a mom, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you can allow one thing that you do wrong or one thing you might miss the mark on, and you can take all of your value away from yourself, right?
In an instant.
In an instant. It takes nothing for you to just devalue yourself. And so she brought the value back.
And she hit every single point. I couldn't say it better. I'm not even going to try to repeat after her, but I do want to comment on one of my girlfriends posted something about unlearned behaviors. And I think that's huge because we learn behaviors from who? Our family, our aunts, our aunties, our moms, our grandmothers, and society, and all these things. But all of these things we learn doesn't necessarily mean they're it, and it doesn't mean they work for us. But the problem is we've been trying to make it work for us so long that we didn't figure out what did work for us.
Yes.
And I'm learning what works what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. That is not a true statement. Mm-hmm. So, unlearned behaviors, one thing I want to say is loyalty is not always a sign of love, and love is not always loyalty. And what have we been learning? People fall off, right? Things get tough, they fall off. You lose friends, you lose partners, you lose family members, people. Just because I love you, just because I love you doesn't mean that you're going to automatically be loyal to me. And sometimes you have to recognize as a woman that person, you love them, but you're going to have to love them from over there. I love you, but we stay over there because it's not bringing that love back.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then I also wanted to say that sometimes we lose ourselves trying to love others as women. We try to love others and show them what love is, but you can lead what do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can love you with all of my might, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get it or you're going to return it. And I think those boundaries have got to be, and I want to say boundaries in a positive way, because sometimes people hear boundaries and they think, she's trying to cut somebody off. No, it just means that I don't have to give you everything I have.
And here's the thing about women. It's interesting that you're talking about this because as women, the reason why what you're saying is so important is because we tend to people please.
Yes.
We don't always set boundaries. And so what ends up happening is because we are the more emotional sex. It's just the truth. Okay. And because we are the more emotional sex, our tipping point is going to be just a little bit shorter. We're going to arrive at our tipping point quicker than the other sex because most of what we do, our heart is into. You understand? Yeah. And so because of that, we want to people please. We're nurturing from birth. Okay. And we put our heart into everything that we do. And so we can get to a tipping point really quickly. And then, you'll hear someone say, well, what happened? Well, what happened was I put my heart and soul into it. Okay. I didn't set boundaries when I did that. And now I feel like you're taxing me at this point.
Yeah.
And it's so, what you said is so important about, putting those boundaries in place so that we are not so overtaken all the time, and that we don't arrive at our tipping point so easily. Because a lot of times there are things that we can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also think that you said something about being a sponge or taking things and feeling them a lot. I do believe myself personally I have a tendency to be a little bit of an empath. And I think that for me, that's a lot of the reason why I retreat a lot. I keep to myself a lot because I feel so deeply. I feel so, I'm easily affected emotionally. And so I built that, what did we talk about? You talked about last time that hard exterior, or that, that toughness that has taken away from our femininity. And I realized last year, I don't want to be tough no more. I don't want to. Yeah. I want to be a soft, beautiful, supple woman that is ready to receive love. I am so tired of being that, you know what?
Yes, come on. Oh my God. And let me tell you, I feel like we could talk about that for a million years and never run out of content. Because let me tell you something. I just want to be woman. Period. Point blank, period. I don't want to take on a role that was never designed for me, and then wear myself out for taking on a role that was never assigned to me. And then when someone comes along who I love or like, they're like, why are you like this? What's wrong with you? Why are you like this? Why are you this person? Because I've been taking on the wrong role for so long, and now I don't know how to receive you, husband.
Well, you got to think too, what else has impacted that? One thing, I don't know if we talked about it in the last session, but we haven't talked about being a woman in our careers. And being a woman in a professional setting has also created another layer of that tough exterior, because I mean, how many, you assertive, or you hold somebody to the letter, or you're accountable, then you automatically the B word, or you cute and you pretty and everybody hating on you because you making it to the top. But they don't realize you're not just cute and you pretty, you're more than that. Yes. And that's another layer on top of us, being tough and us being hard and us, trying to maintain our reputations. You see this? Did you hear what just happened? Get out. Yes. Being a mom. Right. That is a part of what I know what brought that toughness to me. And in the last couple of years, I realized I don't have to be like that. I don't want to be like that. And we, another thing, I don't want to run on and on, but another thing is we're more of a protector than people think. They think, oh, the man is the protector. Yeah, he can be the protector, the provider, he can be all of that. But we're protectors too. We're protectors of our reputation. We're protectors of our family. We're protectors of our spirit and our inner peace. We're protectors of so many other things. Femininity.
We're protectors of the man.
We are. They don't see it.
Very protective of the man. Yeah.
But that's a little bit of role reversal that may be infringing on their masculinity. So you really have to really be in tune with whoever you're connecting with, because they may not like that. Mm-hmm. And that's where we compromise. I think Deb you were ending the conversation talking about what we bring to the table. And we also bring more to the table than tangible. We don't bring anything tangible. That's why when we say, well, we got a job and we have they don't want to hear that. What about the intangible? I bring balance. Yeah. I bring compromise. I bring support. I bring motivation. I bring integrity. I bring transparency, and I bring confidence in who I am. And if that ain't enough, then why are you here?
Yes. And I also bring motivation, because I'm also your motivator. I'm motivating.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking into you, speaking over you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this, like you said, this topic about being a woman, the only last thing I want to say is, as women, We play it, we are not playing it small like we used to, but we have years of playing it small, right? But you can be humble. We are learning to be humble, and we're learning to toot our horn. I swear to goodness, if I had tooted my horn 15, 14, 12, 10 years ago, I'd be in a different place. But no, I was just serving. I was just out here serving. I'm just doing a job, right? Well, what about this? What about this for me? We have got to slow down and toot our horns and still be humble, because that when you're humble, you're giving up gratitude, right? So you can say, "Oh, thank you to God, but I did that."
Here's the thing about what you're saying that's so special. Okay, what has happened with us is that we have been being women to the best of our abilities, right? And we haven't necessarily always had time, like you said, to stop and slow down. And what has happened is that we have not realized our value. And with not realizing our value, now that we realize it, it's like, you know what? I am going to appreciate myself. Okay. And it's okay to give yourself credit and to understand your value. That's not pride. That's not being cockiness. And that's not the opposite of humility. Humility says that I am all of these things by the grace of God. Amen. So humility just acknowledges where your greatness comes from, but humility does not say don't recognize that you're great. It's just just proper perspective here. You know what I mean?
Yes. I will say this: I'm not where I want to be as far as toot my own horn, but I am more aware of it, and that's a start at the beginning. And I want to continue, but I will tell you this: one thing that I learned is I keep saying we, but many of us have spent so many times keeping to ourselves because we don't want anybody to know our business. We don't want anybody to know what we're going through. We don't want anybody to know that we're having trouble with our kid, or we don't want anybody to know we're having trouble in our career. But the sisterhood that I have grown to live and breathe through over the last couple of years have got me where I am today. And when I tell you, I have an amazing sisterhood that I would have never thought in a million years I would have had, because I was a kid who always felt like I didn't belong. And I know I belong with them. And you can find one or two good friends that genuinely don't hate on you, don't judge, don't go and run and talk about you and then smile at you. If you can find that, baby, you've got even one. But you are winning. At the same time, you got to listen to them too. But I've learned that is probably what I needed to help me get to where I'm getting to right now. So you can find that, it's not a bad thing to have good friends and good sisterhood.
It's necessary to just have a really good support system. And for even, having that sisterhood who's going to help and keep you accountable, or to stop and say, hey, girl, listen, we got to pray. This is above us now. We need to come into agreement, and we need to pray and get through this. And you're going to get through this. And so since you opened that up, I just want to appreciate you because you are an awesome support system and awesome sisterhood. And I always say that our cousins, we're more like sisters. So for those of us like you and me, who I was raised as an only child up to a point, but for most of my life, being that only child, right? And so it's nice to have cousins who are sisters and just have a sisterhood. Because like I told you guys the last time we in July, almost the last week in July, when we did the podcast in Columbus, I was with Jay. And I always say that, when I'm with my girl Jay, that's my refreshing time. That's the time where I can get some soft correction so, I just appreciate that. It's so important to have that support system. So being woman while it encompasses a lot, I think what we need to keep us grounded are our support systems, our relationships, our parents. And so I just wanted to say this. I said that, and I was talking to someone else, and I said, we're talking about being woman, and I just feel like we could go on and on and on and on, right? But then I said, what we need to hear from another generation. We need to hear from our parents.
Ooh.
We need to talk to the generation that was before us.
Yes.
Because as I stated earlier in the podcast, I said that we're winging it, so to speak, but we paid attention. And we do have reference, and our parents are our reference, right?
Mhm.
And so I said that I don't know how possible this is, but I think I'm going to try to get all of the elders together and have them, the generation, our parents' generation. I want to have a panel of those ladies to talk about what it was to be woman in their time, as well as how life has evolved since then. Because this is something I said, and then of course we're going to talk about being man. But this is the thing that I always say is, and Deb and I were talking about this one time. We said that I am tired of hearing women tell other women what men want.
Ooh.
I don't need another woman to tell me what a man
That's
wants.
a word right there.
Man to tell
That's
me
who
what a man
knows.
wants.
That's it right there.
You ever hear the saying, get it from the horse's mouth? Okay? All right. Get it from the horse's mouth, okay? Because men need to tell women what they want.
Exactly.
Because what is it? And this is no disrespect to any woman out there, and no any single woman or anything, but it's no disrespect. But I want to hear it from a man and not my single girlfriend.
Exactly. It gives, and I said that to the other day. A man has no idea what it's like to be a woman or what women want if we don't tell him. And we as women have no idea what it's like to be a man and know what a man wants.
Us. Absolutely. So in that same spirit, we'll never really know what it was like for our parents to be young mothers, or what it was like for them to come up in their time and talk about, just these social things that we're talking about right now. Because our parents, like what we're doing right now, our parents would. What we're doing right now, Takasa, I'm just gonna go ahead and step out there. Our parents would have said, "You letting people in your business."
Don't be telling people what's going on in your house. Don't be telling people your business.
What we're doing right now would have been like, "Don't be telling people it's hard for you to be a mother."
You just gotta do what you gotta do and just get out there and do it.
And make it look good and make everybody think everything is okay.
I'm trying to tell you, but this is a level of therapy. This is a level of therapy in a way, because in our minds, we think we are alone in these things. We think that we're, well, maybe not now, but in the past, we thought we were the ones struggling. We're the only ones struggling with our kid. We were the only ones struggling with our job or our career. We're the only ones struggling with our self-identity and who I. We're not.
No.
We're not. No. And that's where the sisterhood comes into play.
I'm going to say this to you. When it comes, you're right. We've never been alone in it. We've never been alone in the struggle. But when it relates to our parents and that generation, they did not have the support that we have. And they didn't have that openness. People were not as open. You think it
was a trust?
A who?
You think it was a trust issue?
Very much so. And I'm telling you again, I think about my grandmother. My grandmother was literally a woman who was let me tell you something. She was together. Don't get me wrong. But it was, let me tell you something. It didn't need to just be good. It needed to look good.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
You know that big house that we lived in, that our grandmother lived in.
Pristine.
Pristine, honey, from the inside and the outside. And I mean, I'm talking about piano. I'm talking about a whole designated sunroom, powder.
Ooh, that's sunroom, baby. That's sunroom.
And then a beautiful porch. Also, I mean, grandma she wasn't just about it being good. It needed to look good too. And she wasn't about to let her neighbors know that she was struggling. But you're not going to tell me having 10 kids and many of them being stair steppers that she didn't have a bit of postpartum. Black women didn't get up with postpartum in that time. Now, when they went to the doctors, and listen, I'm not trying to sound divisive or anything, but I just do not believe that anyone had a conversation with a doctor had a conversation with my mother and said, ma'am, you may be postpartum and let me help you with this. I just don't believe that conversation had. Now, it also could have been, like you said, the trust thing. Maybe my grandmother probably didn't even feel trusting enough to say I'm having an issue because, again, we didn't feel supported. So we just took it on and we wasn't getting ready to ask people to help us. You know, our grandparents weren't doing that, you know. And so, and that's, again, being woman in a whole other time than being woman is today.
So I don't want to start a topic at the end of a topic, but do you think that our grandparents, our grandmothers, I'll say specifically our Black grandmothers, started the misnomer strong Black woman?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, not that like they made it happen, but I mean, do we think we looked at them as the strong Black woman? Because we didn't know what was happening we didn't know what was happening in their rooms and in their discussions. But all we knew is they had it together. They was raising the kids. The house was good. We ate. Everything was, we ain't want for nothing, right? So looking up, we're like, oh, our grandmother's a strong Black woman, right? But I wonder, since you just said that, I wonder if that's where it started.
Yes. Listen, and guess what else? Because you just hit something here. Not only that, but think about this. Think about our heritage, our African American Black heritage. They also felt like they had to be on top of it because they were playing catch up. So
absolutely.
You got to understand that there was a whole established world before we had full access to it.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying? My grandmother owned a home, and our grandmother and our grandfather owned a home in a time, a big home.
Huge.
In a time when that just wasn't really happening like that. And so not only did that strong Black woman emerge during those times, but also keeping up. That's where keeping up with the Jones came from too, because we weren't just trying to keep up with the Jones, we were catching up to the Jones. There was a whole world that was established before our ancestors had a true equitable right to it.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a whole nother podcast right there.
So that's why I said we need to talk to the generation before us.
Absolutely. I would love that. That would be so educational.
Oh my God. And really have them just be open, like, and just have some real raw conversation, about that. Because I always, I asked my mom, what was it like being, a young woman? I want to know, how did certain things make you feel? Because we'll never know what it was like for them until they tell us. In the same way, we won't ever know what men want unless men tell us.
Right now, all we can worry about is what we want.
Yes. I also think there's something to be said, and we didn't get to cover that today, but maybe we can cover it on Being Woman Part 3, because this is a series, and so we're going to talk about Being Woman Part 3. But I also think there's something to be said about the woman. Why do we feel like we have to have it so together all the time, and what does that really come from? Uh, we talk about beating that clock, that certain clock, even the biological clock. Women who want to have kids, and some women are late 30s, and women are now having kids at my age, and so. And not only that, what is the rush to be successful, or the rush to get on to the fast track of, being in business and career driven and things like that. And what does that come from? I think that'll be a good conversation that we can also have on episode 3.
I got a visitor.
Hello again. Well, hello.
And everybody else.
And everybody else. Oh my God, we've got 2 generations right here in our family tree. Here's 2
My
generations.
twin.
Little twin. Well,
I knew we weren't gonna make it the whole podcast without him popping his little head in.
Well, Logan, I'm sorry, you can't get away. You have to tell people who you are. What is your name?
My name is Logan.
Logan.
Logan T.
Well, tell everybody hello on the spots we missed. Tell them hello.
Hi, everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Love you, bye.
Well, thank you so much to Kessa for sharing these
I enjoyed
conversations
it.
with me. I even thought about having some more of the cousins come on and talk too. I'm sure they have some input.
Get him.
We'll be coming back with next week with episode 7, Being Woman Part 3. That's the final episode in our series.
Yes.
So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for just being with us. You know what? You guys coming and chilling with us every week. It means so much, and it's so important. When with our algorithms, when we have more participation. So that's always just really nice. And I missed the comment, guys, and didn't even know it. But
You got time.
Deborah Mitchell, she said she loves that idea. Bring in the elders, honey. Let's glean and feast on their wisdom. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I just believe in getting it from the horse's mouth, right? How will we know how our parents feel? And guess what, Takessa? Do you know what just hit my whole spirit? And I almost feel emotional. I almost feel like, my God. Do you know what just really hit me? When Dad said that, she said, let's glean and feast on their wisdom. Do you know what just hit me? When we talk about asking our elders, our parents, what it was like being woman in the 60s and things like that, you know what I thought about? I thought about nobody probably ever asked them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
And it's crazy because being a woman in those times was so impactful. And it was, I mean, I can imagine all the things that they had to fight through, and all of the recognition they tried to receive, all the injustice they received, all of the disrespect. But no one ever, I agree, no one ever really asked them, how is it for you in this time? Or what do you need? How about what do you need?
What do you need? And I think that if someone had asked them and there were more conversations, our parents may have been more open about things. You know what I mean? So that's
I agree.
I want to bring up this other point too, because, whenever we talk about our history, we can never get away from inequality. our history is woven, the fabric and woven and intertwined with inequality.
Inequality,
Never can
absolutely.
talk about our heritage without talking about that. And even when I was just reading up on menopause, do you know what one of the doctors said? And this is I got that study from this. It's called SWAN, Study of Women's Health Across the Nation. SWAN, swanstudy.org. But what one of the doctors said when they were trying to look at discrimination and inequity in healthcare, they asked women. They asked women from whether they were Latino, white, African American, or Indian, or Spanish, or Hispanic. And what was really interesting from the study was that white people in this particular study felt like they had been discriminated against, and that there were Hispanics that said they didn't really notice it, uh, but and then African Americans said that they didn't notice it. They didn't feel any inequity. Now, this is what I want to point out, and this kind of relates to what we were saying um, about inequity. The doctor said that she felt that the information from the study that they had done had underlining um, underlining meaning, and that um, and that Black people probably didn't feel discrimination because they had become immune to it, and that most Hispanics, because most non-English speaking Hispanics only were around their own people, so they didn't feel the discrimination from others because they were in their own culture, and that white women felt the discrimination because of a sense of entitlement. And that was and so why am I saying that? Well, that goes directly back to what we were just talking about you know how we have just we experience so much inequity, and how we would just go with the flow, but really and truthfully there are probably some things that we don't even there are some things that are completely discriminative to with us, but we are so immune to it that we don't even recognize it, that we're like, well, no, I don't feel like, we're in reality, though you were discriminated against. You might not have felt like it, but you were, but you're used to that. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. It felt so normal that it
So
felt
that's the world that you live in. And so that goes back to our parents' generation. So yeah, Deb says facts. Nobody asked them how they felt yet. They made us who we are. Yeah. And so let me see. I think I have some other comments. Let's look at these other comments that we have. We've got people commenting on us today, y'all. So let's see here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find some more comments. Yeah, but this Takasa, this is a conversation that I just feel like, man, oh man, oh man, like this is we could talk about, these are things that we could pretty much talk about forever. We would not run out of content at all. So Mom says this is so good. People simply don't understand. Mom was actually sending us messages about submission. People really don't understand submission. It's really something you won't mind doing because of the love involved. Yeah, that's true too, Mom. So we had a couple of comments here on Facebook. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And we will be back for, yes, we will be back for a third series about being woman. We can talk about it all the day long. And I love talking about it because I'm at a season in my life where I'm more comfortable with being a woman. I'm learning more about myself. I'm more comfortable with the woman that I am. God has gotten me out here all vulnerable and stuff. And sometimes
I'm trying to tell you.
oh my God, let me just
say
tell
it
you
again for the people in the back.
girl, he got me out here so vulnerable, but I'm accepting it. And, I'm more comfortable talking about it. And so I hope that people would, enjoy this. And, maybe, if someone watches this, they can contribute to this discussion next week. Because next week we're going to be talking about some really loaded stuff. And we have to respect our elders. We have to respect the people who did it before us, because we are a product of them. And so I'm just looking forward. So I don't know, what kind of buttering up we're going to have to do and to get the gals all in one place.
We might have to do some team ups. I might have to be next to her, and you might have to be next to her.
Yeah, and we may have to do some drive-bys. We may have to do some drive-bys too. Bring a fruit basket or something. But definitely, we won't know unless we ask them. And it's sad,
Absolutely.
sad that, no one ever really probably asked them what that was like, And so, I remember, I don't know. What I just said just struck a memory that I had about, I was working at this company many years ago. And, the girl said that she was living with an aunt or something. Anyway, there was a pool in the backyard, and she said, I didn't know how to swim. She said, and my daughter jumped in and was drowning. And she said, I jumped in and I pulled her up and got her up. And one of the girls in the group who were talking with us, she said, well, what were you think? What did you think? She said, I didn't have time to think. I just jumped in. And I think about our parents. They were winging it, honey. They didn't have time to think. They just jumped in and did what needed to be done.
And here we are.
On the spots we live.
Hey.
All right, today, talking about the spots we miss. And thank God that he covers the spots we miss, right?
Amen.
All right. Well, all right. So next week, same time, same place. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for tuning in. These are the spots we miss. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
They didn't know which way to go. So, if you have the ability to find a good support group, find even one person that you trust, tell them what you need, tell them what you need help with, tell them how you're feeling, and you'd be surprised. They might